Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar session, The Power of Teaching Books Authentic Resources, which is the first webinar in a series of thematic workshops this spring that we'll be holding with the state libraries of Missouri and Ohio as part of our collection analysis initiatives. I'm Jake Stone. I'm the project coordinator for these two initiatives, and I'm joined today by my colleagues, Susanna with TeachingBooks, Erin Kelsey with the State Library of Ohio, and Leisha Thompson with the Missouri State Library. And I will give them a sec to introduce themselves in just a minute. First, I just want to say welcome. We're really glad to see you all here, whether you're here in the live session today or accessing this webinar after the fact. These initiatives from Missouri and Ohio are really, really great programs, and we're so excited to be continuing them into the spring of 2024, which feels crazy to say, but here we are. And we're continuing to bring this ongoing professional development, and these webinars are just another part of that. We're hoping to bring you ongoing support week to week, month to month, day to day, so that you always have it and you know that we're here, bringing you the tools that you need to affirm your book selections, whether you're reactively or proactively defending your book choices, or just trying to curate your collections in a way that more accurately meets the needs of your community. This initiative and all of its materials and support sessions are here to support you in doing so. So let me first pass to Susanna, who's here with me from TeachingBooks, and then we'll go to Erin to talk about the Ohio initiative and to Leisha for the Missouri one.
Hey everybody, my name is Susanna Gilbert. I'm an implementation and training specialist with TeachingBooks. And I'm in particular the implementation and training specialist who handles the state of Missouri. So shout out Missouri. You might recognize me from other things.
Thanks, Susanna.
All right. My name's Erin Kelsey, and I'm a library consultant at the State Library of Ohio. And I'll just talk a little bit about the State Library of Ohio's partnership with TeachingBooks. The Ohio Collections Analysis Initiative launched in the spring of 2022. So we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary, which is kind of crazy. But we have had a wonderful response to the initiative. We have users in all 88 of our Ohio counties, which is a goal of ours, and which we're really excited to meet that goal. And we have about 800 users so far signed up, a mix of public, academic, school, librarians, and educators. So Jake and I have loved going on our professional development or continuing education roadshow to share the power of this tool. And we're excited about the spring semester.
Thanks, Erin. And to Leisha.
Hello, I am Leisha Thompson. I'm the Youth Services Consultant for the Missouri State Library. Missouri's relationship with TeachingBooks started, I guess, a little differently. In Missouri, we began offering statewide access to the resource in 2021. With a full contract and completely free to every resident in the state of Missouri, schools, libraries, public libraries, teachers, academic, and our relationship has evolved with working with different organizations within the state of Missouri, and then to this is our first time with the collection analysis. And so we rolled out in October of 23 with the Missouri collection analysis to add just that additional tool to our libraries. And we have been really grateful to learn from Erin and Ohio's initiative, and with the help of Jake guiding us fearlessly along. I'm anxious for the spring semester as well to just to continue to share about this wonderful tool.
Thanks, both of you. So we'll start just with a very brief intro to these materials. This webinar is all about resources, and we're going to get to that. Usually when we do these webinars, they're all about collection analysis, since this This is the Collection Analysis Initiative. But today we wanted to take a little bit of a different focus and talk about all the resources you can find on TeachingBooks and how those do interact with the collection analysis part. But first, we'll just begin with this so that we give the same umbrella to all of our webinars. Why should my library use these collection analysis tools? We've already touched on some of this, but really the main one is that you have confidence that all of your titles are meeting your community needs. Whether it's a large collection of books like your entire picture books collection, or your classroom library, or a smaller one like a front of library display, staff picks, new releases, really any small collection like a story time, any that is visible for your young readers. You can have the confidence using these tools that those titles are meeting the needs that your school or library or academic setting are setting out to meet. And you can do it in a way that's effective and simple and will hopefully, once you get the hang of it, save you a lot of time, because this is not going to take you months and months and months to do one collection. Once you get it down, this will take you 35 seconds or 5 minutes, depending on what the data is like. And more importantly, you have, or paramount to that, you have support available to you all the time. It's individualized and personalized to your needs, coming from myself, from Aaron and Leisha and Susanna, and the whole host of wonderful people at all these state libraries and at TeachingBooks. And that's where the support comes in. You can always reach out to me, whether you're from Missouri or Ohio. For Missourians, Leisha is here to be your point of contact, as well as Susanna. And for Ohioans, you've got me and Aaron. And we will do our best to take care of you and make sure that your questions are answered and that you know what you need in order to move forward with this at a time that works for you. So today, we're going to start in the next couple minutes by doing a bird's eye view of analyzing small collections, just to have a sense of what that looks like before we jump in to focusing really on resources and the power of authentic voices, which we'll showcase with a wonderful book trailer. Then Susanna and Aaron and Leisha and I are going to build and analyze some lists of titles that are geared towards specific resource types. We're going to look at what happens if I'm looking for books, only books that have book trailers, or books that have book trailers and meet the author recordings on TeachingBooks. If you don't know what those are, you'll find out shortly. Or what if I'm only wanting to build a list of titles that have readers' theater scripts, and how can I find those and then share them and make them accessible to readers in a way that's exciting and works for them. And then at the end, we'll have some time for any reflections and Q&A off camera, off the recording, with the end goal being that whether you're here today watching or you are watching the recording of this webinar later on, that you feel a little bit more equipped to go back to your library or your school with these tools and get to work when you have the time and space for it. So that's our agenda. Now here's our bird's eye view. The very, very first thing that you're going to do is start by picking a set of titles. And this bird's eye view is for a small collection. So we've talked about a small set of titles. Like here we have, I'm going to squint. I can't really read that, what that green sign says. But we have new books for sure on the right, and we have some kind of curated display on the left. As long as you have a collection in mind that meets a particular need or serves a purpose in your library or in your school, then you're set. Then you're going to import those books, and we'll show you some of the ways that you can do that. You can scan the books in one by one if you have a book scanner or a phone camera, or you can quick add them by typing in that little box right here, or you can copy and paste a list of titles and authors, a list of ISBNs, or you can even upload a full spreadsheet with all that material and all that information already sorted. And voila, you'll immediately get a big list and a big report that tells you things like the balance of fiction and nonfiction, the balance of reading levels, cultural experience areas, curricular areas, award winners, recency of publication. So you get all that knowledge, and you also find out what is not included, which is a huge part of this service as well. But we'll get to all of that later on. Before we jump into resources, the very last thing we want to show you is this homepage. This is the homepage for the Missouri Initiative. So if you are working in Missouri in a public library, this should be what your page looks like on TeachingBooks. But essentially the goal is you register for this program, which many of you or most of you already will have done. We create an account for you, or we give you the permissions to view this page on your pre-existing account if you're coming from a place that already had a TeachingBooks subscription. And then you have access to this homepage where you can read a step-by-step handbook that walks you through all things collection analysis. You'll have a quick start guide that's just a quick front and back page, and you'll have ways to get started quickly and find help if you need it. So that is our quick crash course through the collection analysis materials. And now we'll turn to the core focus of this webinar, which is resources. And I'll hand it off to Susanna, who's going to tell me about a wonderful resource she wants me to start with.
Yes, let's head over to TeachingBooks. So when I think about how resources can be paired with the collection analysis work that you're doing, the first two things I always think about are how can these resources help me learn more about these titles and identify authentic resources, authentic titles that I want to share out. And how can I get readers excited about the titles once I've found them? And I think this particular resource that we're going to show does a great job of both of that. So we're going to search for Mexikid. Just won a whole bunch of awards, as I'm sure most of you know. And we're gonna, yeah, there we go, 12. And we're gonna take a look at the video book trailer for Mexikid.
So you can find that
highlighted right up at the top.
At the top.
You can also scroll down and find it, but we'll just grab it right there. And let's go ahead and watch some of this.
When I was a kid, my family took a road trip to visit my grandfather in Mexico. Wait, let me clarify that. When I was a kid, all 11 of my family members crammed into one RV to go to Mexico to bring my super intense grandfather to come live with us in America. I just wanted to stay home and watch TV. Instead, I got 4,000 miles of boredom, bananas, bad haircuts, Mercados, Mexican soda, first crushes, stomach trouble, bananas. Why did my mom bring so many bananas? Fights, food, and family. And it was the best trip ever. Hit the road with us in Mexikid, a new graphic memoir by Pedro Martin.
There we go. We learned a little bit about this story, and I think that's definitely the kind of book trailer that's going to engage a young graphic novel fan who wants to know a little bit more about the title they're picking up. So let's talk about how we can find more of these resources, right?
Yeah, so you love book trailers. You've got some books in front of you. Maybe you're wondering if they have book trailers, or maybe you just saw that one and you're inspired and you want to buy a bunch of books or promote a bunch of books that all have book trailers so that you can share them with your young readers. So how would we find, Susanna, a list of books that have book trailers?
There are a couple of ways, but one of the easiest, especially if you're new to TeachingBooks and navigating the site, is just to search for it. We've got our search bar at the top there. We can put in book trailers. And then under featured, you'll see a link straight to the book trailers collection, which is almost 12,000 titles that we have on the site that have book trailers attached.
Lots of book trailers, lots of publishers doing their job.
Yes. But that's a lot of titles. And if we're thinking about creating a list, that's more titles than we can put on a list, more titles than we would want to. So from here, we're going to play a little bit with our filters on the left-hand side there. So maybe we're looking for something for a particular grade level. So we can open up that. We can choose an age range. Let's do 1 to 5 today. We've also got, we're talking about diversity here, diversifying our collections. So we can choose a cultural experience, or we can choose any cultural experience. So this will, selecting that will give us titles that fall into any of those other filter categories in that section. We just looked at Mexikid. So maybe we're thinking about book trailers for recent award winners. Maybe we just got some of these titles into our library. And we're hoping to promote them build some excitement around those. So we can pick a specific award, or we can pick all of our recent award winners there. And
Nice.
so there we go. We're down to 38 great titles.
And there's a bunch of other filters here. You can filter by the year published. This, if you pick past 3 years or current year will narrow it down. Past 3 years will probably give you the same amount of titles because we picked recent award winners. But you can also look for formatted resources, text, video, audio. You can even add another resource type, like if you wanted to see all books with book trailers and book and movie adaptations, and meet the author recordings, meet the author movies. They're all there. So there's tons you can do. So we want to build a list of these books because we are accumulating a list of titles that have book trailers because we want to share them. So what we can do here is we can click this button that says add multiple titles to reading list. Anywhere that you see a plus button like this, like on the top right here or below every title, is where you can add a book to a reading list. And that's one of the ways that you can start a collection that you would then analyze. So let's say we want to add multiple titles to this list, and we want to grab El Defo, Soul Food Sunday, Love in the Library, Standing in the Need of Prayer, Stars of the Night, several others. We want to grab these ones. So now I'll add these to a list, and I could call this book trailer titles. Add it to my list, and that's there for me when I want it. I could edit it and continue adding books. I could view now, I could run another search and find some more titles that I want to add to it. You can continue every time you go and add multiple titles to this reading list. If I were to grab, In the Spirit of a Dream, which wasn't there before, I can add it to the list, and now this will show up here in my previously created lists. So it's a really easy way to continually add books that you feel are meeting your needs in a way that tracks them for you so that you don't have to scribble them down on your notebook on the side or keep a separate Word doc. It's just all there on your TeachingBooks account. Anything else we want to do on this page, Susanna, or should we move ahead to another resource?
Let's pick another title here. Let's take a look at Soul Food Sunday and just see where that book trailer shows up, so we remember how to get to them.
Cool.
And the nice thing about finding them from that book trailer collection is it will actually hop you straight down. Instead of starting at the top of the title page, you're automatically at that book trailer. So that can be
you can still access everything else. You can find the author interviews, you can find book guides, but going there will take you right to video book trailer. So
there we go. We've got another fun one here. And it's fun to see. You can always see where the book trailer is coming from. So these resources, many of the resources on TeachingBooks are coming from outside sources, but you'll always see where that is, and you'll know that our collection and development team went through and hand curated the selection there. Yeah,
it's very fun to just explore. I mean, if you like literary rabbit holes, TeachingBooks is among the best. You can just keep finding. You can find a resource you love, a video you love, and then you can find books that remind you of that book, and it just goes on and on and on, and then it's 6 p.m. and you gotta go home.
The book nerd's dream.
Absolutely.
If you really want to, the literary rabbit hole, like you said.
All right, so let's look for another resource. How about, I mentioned it earlier, how about a reader's theater script? We're looking for books with reader's theater scripts.
Awesome. So another great way to get started finding a particular resource type is by going to our browse page up at the top there. And once we're on browse, you could load here and see every single book on the site, but that's a little slow because there's a lot of them. So we're not going to do that right now. But you can open up the See All Collections menu there. And what I really love here is this is all of those filters that we just saw laid out as collections. So we've got our grade levels, we've got our cultural experiences, genres, all of that great stuff. But we also have all of those resource types there. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about just a big list of the different resource types we have, you can start here. We can see all of those. And there's reader's theater scripts right there that we were just talking about. So we can click on that And here's all 491 Reader's Theater scripts that we have on the site. And I always love to pause here and point out that we also have a link right at the top there to a wonderful little documentary about Reader's Theater scripts that includes some very wonderful famous authors performing some Reader's Theater themselves and talking about why we love Reader's Theater and why it's so cool. So great place to start.
It's so cool. I love this video and I love the fonts. The whole thing just reminds me of being a kid and connecting with
has a
authors
very
and books.
specific era.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so we've got almost 500 books here. That's too many. What do we do?
All right, so we're gonna do a little bit more filtering here. So let's pick a grade level again. I love picture book Reader's Theater. I think it's great for all ages. So we're gonna start with PK2. Find some great ones there.
Yeah, that's better.
And then we could choose, maybe this time we want to pick a specific cultural experience. So we could create a big list of a whole bunch of these and then do a collection analysis and kind of see, what representation we have appearing. But maybe there's a particular focus that we want to make sure we're hitting. You have an opportunity to really think about what you're sharing and make sure you're diversifying what you're sharing to meet the needs of your audience. So let's take a look at Asian Global here. Let's see what we've got.
10.
We're down to 10. We've got some Reader's Theater scripts. And let's take a look at Big Moon Cake for Little Star and see what the Reader's Theater script looks like.
But love Gracelyn.
Me too.
Okay. Here we go. Created by Gracelyn.
Oh, and it's got everything you need. It's got a prop list. It's got, I love that. Make sure you've got your oven mitts. It's got activities that are also on Gracelyn's website that you can pair with the Reader's Theater script. And then we've got our suggested lines, our suggested actions, audience lines. This is it's a really fun collaborative one that you could do at a story time or with a group.
This is like a program in a box.
Yeah,
basically she's
right
giving
here.
you all the materials from my public library background just to have this little guide. It's perfect. You could even show that video about Reader's Theater to this is what Reader's Theater is to the kids.
Get them excited, get them ready to go. We've got, I think we probably have a book trailer for this, so you can show that too.
Look, we've got 2.
There we go.
One from Dreamscape and then one from Little Brown.
Everything you need.
Yeah, and all the other resources are here. So if your kids love this book, you can go and find the Meet the Author recording and learn more about the story behind it. You can find an in-depth interview. You could find the audio name pronunciation where Gracelyn might tell a story about her name and how she relates to it. So there's so many resources, and clicking on one will only yield more because it's like the rabbit hole that we've been talking about. One leads to another, and you can spend all day here.
I think whether it's like oh, go ahead.
No, go.
I was going to say whether it's like a library program, like a public library program, or a unit, it's, a school unit. There's a lot of avenues that you can go down with these resources to make it a really broad experience. Like you're covering lots of bases here by doing the name pronunciation, cultural representation, reflection, Reader's Theater, like that's an introduction to a lot of different things, but in a fun way.
You can appeal to a lot of different learning styles, accessibility, and I think it also can be a really great confidence boost if you're sharing books where maybe you're not super familiar with the culture or the background of the author. You can learn more and be more ready to have a conversation about what's going on in a Big Moon Cake. Why are they making mooncakes in a Big Moon Cake? So it can be...
I have a reluctant reader, a boy, early elementary, and book trailer like this or something that could get him hooked on a book that he would not normally choose. It's like a good gateway into something new.
Sometimes we need that. We need that little extra piece to get us excited about something that, because we're kids and we're paying attention to a million different things and
Right.
it's so distractible.
We can read something that's not a sports book.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
it's making those connections between an author and maybe a favorite sport.
Mhm.
Tim
Right.
Green was a very, very popular author in my school library. If you don't know, Tim Green was a professional football player, and he writes great, early middle school age chapter books, and I couldn't keep them on the shelf. But then utilizing the resources from teaching books to go along with those was a stepping stone then for my students to go on and read additional books and find that favorite area beyond reading just all the sports books, right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So we've got these 10 books. We're psyched about them. We see the vision. We see the readers' theater scripts. We want our kids to have them. We want to save these books. How do we do it? We use that same button from last time. Add multiple titles to reading list. And we can make a new one now. Let's take all these because 10 wonderful, adorable books. And I'm going to add them to a list. Again, I could put them back in my book trailer titles. Or I could make a new list, which I'm going to do because this is for a different purpose. And I could say these are readers' theater scripts. Or because we sorted for Asian Global, maybe we're tracking the list of Asian Global titles with really great resources. You could name it, Asian Global resource titles, something like that. Or I could just note that it's that here in the list, and whatever really works for you. There's no science to this. It's an art in naming your lists. Whatever system works best for you to keep track of where you're keeping these books. The important thing is that you have them, and that you have access to them, and you can return to them and find these resources and share them. Sorry, were you going to say something, Susanna?
No.
Okay. Well, you did, Susanna, mention earlier this original documentary, which is
did.
a lovely resource that we've looked at. And it's in our Meet the Author movie collection. This one's attached to Walter Dean Myers's author page. So maybe I've discovered this from looking at Reader's Theater. I want to find more Meet the Author movies and more titles and authors that have them. How do I do that? And what if I wanted to find them for a particular set of titles or a particular area?
So maybe what drew you to this movie first was not readers' theater scripts. Maybe it was Walter Dean Myers, and so you're looking for more African American authors to highlight. We're still in February, still Black History Month. So let's start by searching for our African American collection. And you'll see that pop up there again under featured. We've also got, of course, subjects, lists, all that stuff. But here we are, and now let's still 4,000, a lot. But maybe we're just looking for those Meet the Author movies. Maybe we want to put some Black authors front and center and let our readers, students get a chance to meet them. So we can go to resource type there. And then under author interviews, you'll see that one of the options is Meet the Author movies. And then we're down to 197, which is still a lot. So let's try a filter we haven't used yet. So we haven't looked at our curricular area filters. And maybe there's something that you're really hoping to highlight, STEM, Spanish, but let's try art here. Let's see what we have. And we've got 28 titles then. So we've got some wonderful kind of picture book biographies up top there. And you'll see that some of these, you see some recurring names here. So Meet the Author movies are not necessarily about a particular book the way that our Meet the Author recordings are. They might be more about one author or illustrator's kind of whole body of work. So let's take a look at a title here. Let's look at Rosa. And we've got our Meet the Illustrator recording, but we've also got a Meet the Author movie with Brian Collier.
And so this recording is probably about Rosa.
Yes, that's
But-
going to be about this particular book. But what happens if we open up that movie? There we go. He's talking about collage process. It's a 5-minute little movie with this phenomenal illustrator who's walking through how he goes about creating the illustrations in the books that he makes. You're in his studio, you get to see the space that he works in. So what an amazing entry point for talking about his books, but also about collage, about art in general, about book illustrators and different mediums that they use. There's just kind of an endless number of things you could talk about after watching this together.
And it's such a beautiful way to connect with these authors and illustrators, these creators, and even sometimes have their memory and their work live on after them.
Yeah.
Actually, Brian has a really beautiful Meet the Author movie that gets me teary every time I watch it, because just imagine his studio and where he made all of his works and how he did it and how beautiful his mind was. And you can just see all of that here in these movies. And it's just such a wonderful thing that we have access to, because these authors and these illustrators were gracious enough to let us into their spaces and to give us their time and show us how their minds work. So it's a really, really beautiful thing that we shouldn't take for granted and should share as much as we can, because these people mean so much.
Absolutely. All right. So we got to put some on a list so we remember to come back to them, right?
Yeah, I gotta make a collection analysis report so I don't cry. I gotta get back to the real
This is what I'm
work.
talking
Okay.
about, the book nerdiness that then turns into like emotions about authors and books, and
Yeah.
it's
World
all
just
good.
saps. Nerds and saps. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this button. It's gonna be my saving grace here. And I'm gonna click add multiple titles to reading lists. And here we have a bunch of art African American titles that have Meet the Author movies. So I could select all of them and then deselect a few. I could just have grabbed a few. You know, you can do whatever you want. And add them to a list. And now we have our Meet the Author movies. And again, you could say this is an African American list, or you can search by another cultural experience area and then add them in, and then it's just whatever. There are many endless ways to navigate TeachingBooks' collections of titles. The important part is that you do it and that you explore. So it doesn't matter what you call them. So we've now built these 3 lists, and I can find them by going up to this little toggle menu here in the top left, right under my name. And I want to click my reading lists. So this is where my list of titles lives. If I scroll down, I can find, I've got my book trailers, my Reader's Theater script titles, and my Meet the Author movies. I'm going to open all of these in a new tab, just so we have them. And let's take a look first at the Meet the Author movies. Where at the top, you've got this menu that tells you how many resources you have. It says we've got 59 videos. Some of those are our Meet the Author movies. We've got book readings, lesson plans, and you can sort these titles by the number of resources or when they came out, alphabetically, how many awards they won, so on and so forth. And there are 2 ways that you can look into the analysis hiding beneath this list of titles. The first one is by clicking this button, List Analysis Report. And this isn't going to save a report to your account. It just pulls up a temporary one that lets you look at this. The reason why it doesn't save it is because we encourage you to take a look at as many of these as you'd like to. So you could search, the Newbery Awards or the Caldecott Medal, and you can look at the list analysis report for those award lists and see and notice what the balance of, different cultural experience areas are. You can do that inquiry yourself without having it be saved to your account, because when you save a list analysis report, we wanted to build it so that that's relevant for you. That's your list. It's your collection. It's your information, and you have it in a safe place. So here's our temporary viewing button. And if I click this, it's going to open up our list analysis report. And at the top, it has a summary of all the data. So you can see that of the 19 titles we have here, the median year of publication is 2002. It's a bit of an older list. I can see Susanna laughing because we didn't prioritize recent award winners in this one. We got some older titles. That's okay. They're all award winners. We've got one graphic novel. I think that was Monster. We've got 2 cultural experience areas. So a ton more that we could add, but again, we only looked at African American area this time, so that's why that's the case. And then as you move forward through this, you can see we've got a pretty good balance of fiction and nonfiction. You can click on either of these to pull up a search result that shows you what those nonfiction books are. There's our Lexile levels. Here's our recency. Yep, we've got some older books here ranging from 92 to 2015, 82. We've got our cultural experiences, our genres, our curricular areas, and we have what's not included, which for this particular list is a pretty long list. So this is where we're actually not going to go into this that much in this webinar because we want to focus on the resources. But that's a reason to come back for other workshops because we'll show you how you can get a list like this. You're analyzing it. You see that you don't have any disability titles and you want to add some of those. So we've got tools built right into this report where you can find disability titles for your middle grade readers that are graphic novels. You know, you can look for that, you can find it, and you can add them back in. But again, that's a little teaser for the other webinars we'll do this spring where we're going to go way into that and focus on that pretty heavily. So that's one way that you can view a temporary report for any list. And again, like I could go CSK, I can look for the Coretta Scott King Award, and this list analysis report button is still here. So this is just viewing it temporarily. It's not saving it to your account. If you want to save it to your account, we've got this button on the left that says Save List Analysis Report. And here's where you would either you can create a new one. So selecting from this dropdown and say create a new report will generate a new report in the name of the custom reading list. Or you can add it into any of the lists that you've built before. And we'll show you how that works in a sec. So import, and then voila, here it is. And this time, if I go back up to this toggle menu where we went to our reading lists, and I go to my collection analysis reports, this time, if I click it, it'll be here. So here's our Meet the Author movie titles. When I went to the Coretta Scott King Award and I pressed the list analysis report button, it's not here because that was a temporary list. So it can be a little bit confusing. But once you get the hang of it, it's smooth sailing, and that's what we're here for, is to help answer questions like that. So we've saved our Meet the Author movies. We could do the same with our Reader's Theater script. Or let's say we were just building, we wanted to see a list analysis report of all of the titles that we just chose. So I want to combine this with my previous one. This time I could click Save List Analysis Report and I could import it directly. Oops, I got to refresh the page. Sorry. Okay, this time I could import it into our Meet the Author movies titles list. And that's going to change this to version 2 because we've created another one. And usually when you're doing, again, this webinar is a little bit of a weird example. Usually the version 2 is a really helpful thing because let's say you're building a list of picture books and you get your first analysis and then you add in titles that meet a need and you want to see how that changes. Now you can see that version 2 of that list is a little bit more diverse than version 1 and you can compare it very easily. This time we just merged 2 completely different lists and it called it version 2 because that's how the programming works. You can change the name of this list, but just for the purpose of demonstration. That's how it works.
Maybe these were two lists that you shared in programs. Maybe you had a program where you shared a bunch of those Meet the Author movies. You had a program where you did some of the Reader's Theater scripts. You're tracking your whole year of programming and what you shared, and you want to see all of those titles slowly get added to a giant list analysis report. There we go. Justification.
Yes, a real life example. We can do the same thing with our book trailers. And this button, the Save List Analysis Report button, also exists on the temporary view. So if you look at a list, any award, any custom reading list, any list you find on TeachingBooks, you can still save this report and put it in a list. So here's our version 3. And just to prove that you can do this, I'm going to go back to my collection reports, which I also could have gotten to by going here and here. I'll scroll down, and here's our Meet the Author movies, V1, V2, V3. If I click Edit, I can just call this Feb 22nd resource, wonderful resource titles, and call it a reading program. So you can change this to whatever you want. You're never locked in to the name of a custom reading list or the name of a list analysis report. Now, this report is going to show us the analysis of our 41 titles, so all of it. And across those 3 different searches, we have now 10 cultural experience areas, 11 genres. They're all diverse. Most of them are award winners. The publication year has gone up 6 years from when we were just working with the Meet the Author movie African-American titles. So we're pushing up into the 21st century. And all these graphs have changed in ways that are cool to dive into. So we're really just, it's like heaven for book nerds. There's graphs, there's charts, there's resources, there's crying, there's just everything you could want is all here.
A full range of emotions will happen.
Yes, if you don't cry when you're building your list analysis report, you're doing it wrong.
But we hope it's the joy kind and not the stress kind. If it's the stress kind,
Tears of joy.
email Jake.
Right.
Right. Here's our cultural experience balance. And you can see we've got a ton of African-American titles. We've got a ton of Asian titles because those are the 2 cultural experience areas that we looked for. All of this tracks with what we would expect. But the cool part is that you can see it all playing out. Here's our genre details, curricular areas, and then this list of what's not included. So if you wanted to keep looking for resources that, books in the Muslim cultural experience area that have Reader's Theater scripts, you could go and find those and add them in. And then this area would no longer be not included. Yeah, it's great. It's great. There are 2 other quick things we want to show you about this report before we head back to the resources and then start to wrap up this webinar. So one of them is this classification definitions link that lives below all of our charts. Because you might be wondering as you're watching this, what does disability mean for TeachingBooks? How do we define that category? So if you click classification definitions, this opens up a page that explains how our content team has defined these cultural experience areas. Because the really, really amazing thing about TeachingBooks is that we're not using any metadata from publishers to classify our titles. We have a team of librarians and teachers who are actually reading these books, consulting authoritative sources online, talking between themselves and discussing which areas these books belong in. So books in our disability list focus on the histories, cultures, experiences, and perspectives of people with disabilities, including physical or cognitive disabilities, neurodivergence, chronic illness, some combination. So that when you're looking at these graphs, you actually know what this means. And we acknowledge that these definitions are subjective, and we always welcome feedback. A lot of times folks will reach out and say, hey, I think you might have misclassified a book. I think this belongs in Jewish, and you don't have it as diverse at all. So if you go up to help and to contact us, there's a form here where you can say, we should reclassify this title, or I love this book. This book means a lot to me. It's in my classroom and you don't have it. That's what you can also suggest that here. So that's one, is these classification definitions. And then the second is all the way at the bottom. On every list analysis report, we have a summary of the resources that are within the titles on this list. So we've got 844 resources attached to these 41 books. And I can click this and it'll pull up a search result in custom reading list format where you've got these books listed here. And you can filter, as we've been doing. You can filter them by genre, you can filter them by resource type. So if I wanted to find only those books with Meet the Author movies, then here's our 20. Yep. 20 books. So once you get the hang of it, everything is iterative and everything plays into itself and interacts really nicely. It takes a little bit of time to figure out how TeachingBooks links all of its resources and its titles and its areas and lists and reports. But I promise once you get the hang of it, it's going to be a really seamless tool that we hope will fit right into what you're already doing. And you can use it to find, great new programming ideas, or to find unit lesson plans, book guides, resources to show in a classroom or at a story time. There's just so many different ways that you can take these resources and these tools and put them into the work that you're already doing without creating more work for yourself. Okay, so that's the list analysis report segment of today. Let's go back into resources briefly, and we want to show you one other great resource that Susanna and I found. We want to show you another tool, and then we're going to talk about sharing these resources with your community, and then we'll close up for the day. So,
All right.
Susanna, where to?
Let's search for Amari and the Knight Brothers. There we go. Pops right up. And we've been talking a lot about, learning more about these titles, getting kids excited about these titles. Something that I was a public librarian prior to this, and something I was always thinking about was finding diverse titles that aren't just about dark historical periods for certain parts of the population. And so finding ways to diversify without it being kind of all about that history. And I really love the Meet the Author recording where we get to hear from B.B. Alston a little bit here. And so let's play a tiny bit of that.
Hi, my name is B.B. Alston. I'm author of Amari and the Knight Brothers. I'm a huge fan of the Men in Black movie, especially Will Smith. And one day I was watching it, and I kind of had the idea of what if it wasn't just aliens that live among us? What if it was all the, the things we consider myths and legends that, are real and they live among us? How would the agency be different? How would they handle that? And then the second part came, I kind of had the question, what if a kid like me, like I was when I was growing up, like kind of a black kid from modern means, got to go to a place like Hogwarts or something, and it was just kind of a merge of those two ideas. Amari popped into my head, and I knew exactly how she thought and how she talked and how she felt about the world. I thought it'd be a really fun story.
We can stop there.
I love that he's laughing. I just love you.
Yeah.
You can hear how much he loves this idea.
It's so much fun to hear. And, he is talking about, okay, what if a kid with a background like his was put into this kind of fantasy situation, which isn't something, we've previously had a ton of in literature. But he's also talking about, he was watching Men in Black and thinking about how much he loves Will Smith and those movies and Aliens. And so there's just kind of a wonderful intersection of inspiration there that I love. Let's hop back to Amari's title page for a second, because I want to share another great resource for learning a little bit more about your titles. We're all thinking very much right now about the titles we're sharing, the titles we're selecting. And another way to learn more about those is our book resumes. So on a title page up at the top here, after that summary of resources and all of that, you're going to see a link to a book resume. Those are only going to show up if you are logged in. Those are not going to show up in the kind of more student view. And we've got professional book information about this title. So some background. We've got some of those, filters we were seeing, the cultural experience, the year published, the grade level. But we also have subject headings from Library of Congress and BISAC. And we've got full professional reviews. So we've got the full text we pull reviews from 8 different sources. And you'll get to see the full text, and it will be highlighted in that full line there, which ones are starred. So you'll be able to see that there are 3 starred reviews for this title. It's won 5 book awards and distinctions, and you can see what those are. Has been how many state and provincial recommended reading lists that's been on. 58 is so many. That's really impressive. And then we've got that Meet the Author recording again as a primary source statement about this book. So great tool if you're thinking about your selection process. You can share this whole page or a summary of it. So wanted to make sure those are relatively new to the site. So we want to make sure that you knew they were there as a resource as well.
Yeah, and these are great and new, and they're for anybody who is answering questions about books or needs to talk about the information. Just you've got a quick 1-page summary. You can share this with a parent or a school community member or a library community member, anything. Just one more resource that we want to give you all so that you have the power to use these resources for good in your own lives and in your own work.
All right, so back to sharing. We're going to head back to that Meet the Author recording for just a second, because we've been talking about all of these different resources and how you can keep track of them and remember to come back to them, but how can you share them out with your community? So on pretty much any page or any resource on the site, you're going to see that little share this page arrow on the left-hand side. And when you click that, you get a whole bunch of different ways that you can share out a resource. There's a URL there, and that URL, all of these tools are going to give you immediate access. They're not going to have to worry about signing in or where they're accessing it from. You're giving them access to this resource. So we've got that URL. We've got digital platform options. So things like this can be dropped directly into Google Classroom, put in an email or on a calendar if you want to share it for when you're going to use it down the road. You can put them out on Facebook and Twitter, get your community engaged, talking about these different resources. But we also have our QR code printables here. So I particularly love the shelf talkers for resources like this, where there's some audio. And these are just ready to print out, ready to go. They're going to show up with an image of the book and a QR code, and your library or school district's logo. So you'll see up in the corner there, these are co-branded now. So that's a chance as well for that to be shared. And these can just go on your library shelves with the book. They can go in a display. They can go in the book themselves. I think Jake has some great pictures that we can look at for how these might be shared out in your physical spaces. But we also have bookmarks. We've got label sheets. We've got a whole bunch of different ways that you can just start integrating these resources into your spaces and sharing out with your community.
And these are here for every resource. So this is a Meet the Author recording, but any of the book trailers, Reader's Theater scripts, Meet the Author movies we looked at today, beyond, you can share everything like this, and it's really fun. And yeah, we are particularly excited about the co-branded shelf talkers now. What you saw, I'm logged into an Ohio collection analysis account, so that's why it showed that. But if you're with a library or school in Ohio or Missouri that already has a license separate from this program, then it'll show up with your logo on the top left, and it'll say brought to you by Westerville Public Library, or brought to you by Cleveland Public Schools. So it's really nice. And Susanna, thank you for mentioning my beautiful pictures, I will go over to those now. Oh yeah, before we jump into that, again, this is the flowchart for collection analysis. So we didn't talk about it as much today as we will in future webinars or we have in the past, but this is the real meat of these initiatives. You start out by identifying a collection that you want to analyze, you think about your community needs, and you get the information together, either by copying and pasting your book titles and authors or by making a spreadsheet, and I'm happy to help with that at any point. Then you begin this cycle of importing into the collection analysis tool, reflecting on your results, questioning whether they meet your community needs. If the answer is no, then you go through this process of refining by adding and removing titles until you feel that the list does accurately represent the community that you're trying to serve and the readers you're trying to provide for, at which point you would complete the process by sharing your results with your colleagues or your community members, supervisors, and we can supply you with more resources that do that really well. So that's the boring flowchart, and here's the pretty pictures. This is that QR code printables screenshot that we just showed you, where you can generate shelf talkers, label sheets, flyers, bookmarks, all that jazz. And here's how they've been used in actual real life libraries. You can put them on desks, on tables, you can attach them to books right on the shelf. And then one of my favorites, a library was closed for the weekend or for a holiday or something. And so the librarian put a bunch of books in the window and attached the shelf talkers so that even though the kids couldn't get into the library that day to check out the books, they could still scan the resource and have a little piece of that to get them through the night before they had to race to the library in the morning and check out the book. There are tons of ways to be innovative and creative and foster that love of reading, even when the book isn't accessible. So that is going to be the end of our resource collection analysis program. A couple more things we want to share, and I'll turn this over to Aaron and Leisha in a moment. But we've got a bunch of events coming up that we're really excited about. Next slide is all the thematic workshops that we have for the rest of the semester, and I emailed a list of those out to most of you. So we'll get to those, but we also have these intro and recap webinars. We like to bookend the semesters of our initiatives with open access entry points for people to get involved. So we've got these basic, just getting started intro sessions. For Missouri, we're doing that on March 28th. For Ohio is April 4th. And then we've got our recap sessions on May 2nd and May 9th. And then we've got these amazing thematic workshops. We'll be analyzing and enhancing summer reading lists in March. We're going to talk about large collections as well in March. We've been focused so much on small collections lately, but I know a lot of you are working with some, 1,000 some odd titles, and you want to analyze those all at once. So we've heard you, and we're going to go back to that and talk about some of that. Then we're going to talk about African American youth literature once Black History Month has passed, even though it's what's currently happening. But even though in April it will have been in the past, that doesn't mean we can't still revisit those titles and find ways to bring those voices to light. And then at the end of April, we're going to get you hooked on phonics, because TeachingBooks has a new collection of titles grouped by phonemic awareness. I think it's phonemic, not phonetical, right?
It's phonemic, yeah.
Phonemic, yeah.
You did it.
Thank you. So yeah, we'll bring that to you. And first up, Leisha, you want to say anything about our open office hours sessions? Here are the dates for those.
Sure. The office hour dates, as Jake just said, are right here on the screen. These are very informal. You can come and go. If you have a specific question, you can jump on, ask your question, and you don't have to stay the entire hour. Or we're happy during those times as well to do demonstrations, such as has been done today. But it's really just for us to be able to be there to help you at a specific time, or for you to even learn, maybe from questions that other people ask as well. But at any time, Jake and I are available. You don't have to wait for the office hours. If you have a specific question or something comes up, that you're stuck on something, please reach out to either one of us, and we'll do our very best to help you through that.
Thanks, Alicia. Those are for our Missouri friends. These are the dates. I'll email all of these out to you guys as always. And Aaron and I be here on these dates for our Ohioans.
Yep, these are our Ohio office hours dates. Jake and I hanging in a Zoom room. No question is too big or too small. So please join.
So
We
once
don't record
again-
them either, so
Right.
it's
Good point.
you can ask anything, but it's not something you can really access after the fact.
But you can access us anytime. You can email me, you can call me. I have a link in my email signature where you can book a time on my calendar. So please feel free to do that. That's what I'm here for. Even if you're like, how do I don't know. I was trying to think of a stupid question, but there are no stupid questions. So how do I read a book? I will help you with that to the best of my ability. And Aaron and I are here, Alicia and I are here, and you can reach out to Susanna, you can reach out to Book to TeachingBooks anytime. And we hope you will share about this initiative with all of your colleagues, because anybody can register for this. If you work in Missouri or Ohio as an educator or library staff member of any kind, you are welcome here to join these webinars and to ask for help and to use these tools. So tell your friends, get them all signed up, and we can all just build this lovely community of learning together. And that's going to do it. So thanks so much for coming. We will leave this Zoom room open if anyone here has questions or things they want to look at, but we're going to stop the recording here. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Bye, thanks.